Hello, my name is Kristin. This is Kristin Kraves Books, and prepare yourself for an onslaught of 2023 releases. So I don't think it's any secret that I really like talking about new releases, researching them, finding them for you all, sharing them, putting a Goodreads list together. My Goodreads list for 2023 releases is over 150 books at this point, and eventually I will share them all with you. But I thought it would be fun throughout December to kind of put these in different categories and do multiple videos. So I think you're gonna get 4 2023 releases videos from me. I'm going to do one for January, so none of the books I talk about in my other videos come out in January. I do want to give that its own separate video because there are quite a few books and I do one every month. So look for that closer to the end of December. I think after Christmas I will post that. Then obviously this one, I'm going to talk about 10 of the romances that I am most anticipating. Now, none of these are sequels. I'm not going to talk about sequels in any of these videos because I don't think that's interesting unless you have read the first book. But I will do a blog post talking about my most anticipated sequels, so if you are curious, I will leave that linked down below, and I'm going to post that before I post any of these videos, so it'll be there for you to check out. Then I'm going to do my top 10, I think, YA books that I'm looking forward to, and I do have 2 YA romances in this video here today. And so the YA will be other genres, mostly fantasy, in my next video. And then I'm going to do a video just of adult fiction that I can't wait to read that is not romance. There's so many romance, the whole video could be romance, so I figured I would just do it separately. So I hope you enjoy these. Hope I can put a few new books on your radar. And I'm not going to give you dates because publication dates are constantly changing. Just know these are supposed to come out in 2023 and they all have covers, so I feel like that's a safe bet. So one of my favorite romances of the year is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, and that is really one of my first historical romances. So I want to try more from that subgenre, and I have a couple of historical romances on this list, and the first one is Anna Maria and the Fox, and this is by Liana de la Rosa, and this is the first book in a series that follows different sisters, and I love romance companion novels that follow sisters like the Brown sisters. I just love that idea. And this is a forbidden love between a Mexican heiress and a shrewd British politician, and it makes for a tantalizing Victorian season. So this follows our main character, Anna Maria, and she lives in Mexico, and she is obviously an heiress, but this is happening at the time when France occupies Mexico and she and her sisters flee to Britain. And she is kind of with higher class here because she is an heiress and there are balls and things like that, and she has a hate to love romance with a British politician, and I think that she kind of gets into a situation that wouldn't look good for her, and he decides that he wants to save her even though he's broody and kind of I think it's a grumpy sunshine kind of thing happening here, and they fall in love. So I think this is going to be really good. But when Anna Maria finds herself in the crosshairs of a nefarious nobleman with his own political agenda, Gideon Fox, hence Anna Maria and the Fox, Gideon knows he must offer his hand as protection, but will this Mexican heiress win his heart as well? So that just sounds really cute. And then after that, you know I love a foodie romance. This author actually wrote Sadie on the Plate, which I think came out this year and I really wanted to read, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. But this one looks really good, and it's called Best Served Hot. And this follows a main character named Julia who has an Instagram that is pretty popular, and she's like a food blogger. She goes to different restaurants and has reviews, and she wants to work for a newspaper, but somebody else, her enemy, is hired for this position, and the guy that got the job is very anti-social media, so they clash a lot. And then something happens where they end up in a situation that goes viral, and the magazine takes her on because the dynamic between them is really interesting, and they have to work together and fall in love. So I think that's going to be really cute. I like the idea of food critics. This next one is from an author I think mostly writes YA, but I've always been curious about her work, and this is The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. And the tagline here says, "Love was closer than they knew." So this is following like a shy, bookish character who doesn't get out much, and she's very nervous, but she wants to put herself out there more, and she's feeling like inadequate in her family and her friend group, and she works for a publishing company, and she really wants to work, I think, in the children's section. Yeah, she wants to help with children's books, but she's stuck in the nonfiction division, and she just feels like she is in a rut. And then she starts corresponding with her favorite author, and they have exchange emails back and forth, and they really do find like a friendship there and a connection. And then one day he ghosts her and she's devastated, and she has a new neighbor that moves in next door, and he realizes who she is and the connection that they have, and there you go. And I think that sounds really cute and sweet. I feel like I've been waiting for this next one for ages because I'm just in love with the title of this one. This is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. And it says, Mariel Spark knows not to trust a demon, especially one that wants her soul. But what's a witch to do when he won't leave her side? And she kind of doesn't want him to. So there's something with, he wants to steal her soul. There's a deal involved in here. I think he's kind of, his reputation is ruined, and she can help him in some way, but she's not willing to give up her soul, and he thinks that's weird. Why are humans so attached to their souls? So I think this could just be quirky and fun, and it looks really sweet. And I'm just, as I said, I love this title. I'm drawn to titles like this. I've read a lot of books that have something's guide to something something, and I don't know, I like them all. I don't know what that's about. The next book is by an author whose book I read this year and really loved, and this is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. Anita Kelly wrote Love and Other Disasters, which was a foodie romance, that I really thought was fantastic. And this one is following these two characters who fall in love on a hike. And I think one of our characters, did he just go through a breakup? Yeah, he's feeling very hopeless, so he goes on this hike to kind of do some introspection and be alone, and he meets this other character who I think he probably finds kind of annoying, is always around, and it cannot escape him, and he's more of the sunshine kind of character. And then he falls in love with him, and I think that sounds really sweet, and I love the idea of them hiking and falling in love. I think that can lead to some great conversations, some funny moments, and I already know that I like Anita Kelly, so that's high on my list. Speaking of high on my list, this is my favorite romance author. This is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, who wrote my favorite romance of all time, Part of Your World. Came out last year. A lot of people loved it, which makes me so happy. And this one is loosely connected to that one. So we're following Brianna, who is the character from Part of Your World's best friend at the hospital that they worked at. And she is going through a divorce, and her brother needs a kidney transplant. So I will say that all of Abby Jimenez's books have some darker themes. Not darker, but heavier. And it's not just about the romance. They do have some trigger warnings. So obviously we're following a character who is going through kidney failure, and following his sister, and she kind of has this idea about a doctor that works there. Then they start exchanging letters somehow, and maybe she had the wrong impression of him, and then he offers to give her brother his kidney. And obviously everything that happens with that. So people have been getting e-arcs of this already, and I've been so jealous, and people are saying this is their favorite Abby Jimenez, so that gives me a lot of hope. And I already know that I like Brianna as a character. She was an awesome character in Part of Your World, so I'm glad that she's getting her main character moment. This was like, this cover, I remember seeing all over Twitter, and that is why I added it. This is such a good cover. And this is the Fiancee Farce by Alexandra Bellafleur. And see how it looks like a magazine? One of the characters is like a cover model, and our other character, let me see what it says here. Tansy Adams' greatest love of her life is her bookstore, which is, we love a bookstore passed down from her father. But when it comes to actual romance, Tansy can't get past the first chapter. So her family's always bugging her about why she doesn't have somebody. So she lies and makes up that she's dating this woman on the cover of this magazine. And then the woman on the cover of the magazine kind of comes into her life, realizes that this girl has been lying about them dating, but actually that can benefit her in some way. I don't know why this would benefit her. I think it does say in here, Gemma needs a wife to meet the terms of her grandfather's will. So that often is a trope in these fake datings, where for some reason somebody puts in a will that you have to be married to get your inheritance. I don't know what that's about, but that's in here. So they have a mutually beneficial arrangement, and they fall in love, and look at this cover. It's so good. I'm really excited about that. This next one is another one I saw the cover of, and this sounds so good. This is Roleplaying by Kathy Yardley. And yeah, this is following two characters who fall in love online through video games. And I think she's 48 and he's 50, and her college son says to her, I will be more social if you will as well. So she starts to put herself out there, forms this connection that's more of a friendship with this person that she met online, and they game together online. Then they meet in person, and I think they've both kind of been lying about who they are, but they still have this connection. And it's all about, can you bring an online relationship that maybe wasn't always truthful into the real world, and putting yourself out there. I like that we're following older characters. I like the whole conversation about how powerful online relationships can be, and if you were on BookTube or you're part of the online community, you know that that is true. And this cover is just everything, and I think this is going to be really, really sweet. Now we're on to the 2 YA romances and another historical fiction, and this is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Crosher, who wrote Reputation, which I read in 2021, but it came out in 2022, and that got mixed reviews, but I thought it was fun. I didn't take it too seriously, and I think that Lex Crosher kind of has a sense of humor that you either appreciate or you don't, and I think that's true for all humor, and I just thought it was hilarious. And I would recommend listening to that on audio, because I think that her work translates better on audio than it does reading in print, because I did try to read an e-arc of it. But this one says the path to true love and never did run straight, and this is like an Arthurian retelling sort of. It follows 100 years later after the events of the Knight's Table, and actually this is being compared to a Heartstopper and a Knight's Tale, which was what really sold me on here. I was a Knight's Tale fan. Heath Ledger was like my #1 celebrity crush. I had a poster of him in my closet that had lipstick marks on it. I'm admitting that on the internet. When he passed away, so many people called me, they knew I'd be devastated, so A Knight's Tale, like, I just love it. So I don't see books compared to A Knight's Tale very often, so that made me really excited. And it's about these 2 characters. He's a descendant of King Arthur, and his name's Arthur as well. Then we have Gwendolyn, of course, and their marriage has been arranged since they were born, but neither of them are in love with each other. He's in love with a boy, she's in love with a girl, and they realize that their relationship can be mutually beneficial for them. So there you go. That sounds really fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. Then the last one, I've said this in my last couple of videos, I feel like, but corgis on covers are having a moment, and here's a prime example, and this is the cutest cover ever. This is Fake Dating and Mooncakes by Shirley. Heartstopper meets crazy rich Asians in this heartfelt, joyful rom-com that follows an aspiring chef, you know I love foodie romances, who discovers the recipe for love is more complicated than it seems when he starts fake dating a handsome new customer. And I think our main character, he really just wants to win this mooncake making competition that's for teen chefs, and I think it's in memory of his mother. And he wants to help support his aunt's takeout restaurant. And then we have a customer who's like chatty and is really attracted to him, asked him to be his fake date to a family wedding, and I think it's just really cute. And there's a corgi, and look at this cover. So those are all the romances that I'm excited about. I know there are more, but I wanted to limit this to a top 10 and maybe put some on your radar you hadn't heard of. So I feel like I have some hidden gems on here, some more popular ones as well. But I just can't wait for all of these, and I hopefully will come back a year from now and have read all these and loved them. I'm gonna leave links to all the books that I talked about today down in the description so you can find them easily. Thanks for your support. I'll talk to you again soon with more 2023 releases. Bye for now.